Desk in the bed.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Midcard. Today's May 26th. I am your host, the GOAT Bams. I'm here with Joey Wrestling. Joey, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Just found out that I'm going to be having a baby girl as my
Congrats,
father-in-law
dude.
pops in the back. That was good timing. But yeah, I found out yesterday I'm going to be having a baby girl, so I'm going to be a girl dad. Pretty excited for that.
I was just going to ask, how excited are you for that right now?
Pretty excited. Obviously, I was hoping for a boy to be able to pass on my 32 knowledge of male wisdom, but that's not going to be happening. So now I got to kind of learn on the fly, but it'll be good. It'll be a fun time.
I think that's everybody's initial reaction is they kind of like, I don't know why, every guy wants a boy. That's just kind of how it is.
I think if you're a sports guy, yeah.
My brother had that, and then his first kid was a girl, and that was it. He was just head over heels, and it was the best thing that's ever happened. And he's like, I'm glad I had a girl. So, I mean, congratulations, dude. That's awesome. I did see the video.
Yeah, it was good. Golf swing's not half bad for a guy my size. I'm pretty happy with it.
It did look like you drove that ball a long way.
Yeah, it exploded. So there were just little pieces of it that went flying. But yeah, it was probably the most pressure packed golf shot I've ever had.
Dude, imagine if you just whiffed. Just completely missed.
There was like 30 people watching too. It would have been awful, and it would have been all over social media too.
Oh, the first one's just a complete whiff. There was I saw one of those reveals. Somebody did it was like a baseball one, and their wife went to go throw it to him, and he just completely whiffed, and then it like hit the ground, and then pink dust came up, and then he was like, oh no. I forgot, dude, it was somebody on my Facebook, and I couldn't stop laughing. Like I must have watched that thing like 10 times.
I've seen something like that too, yeah, where it's just like completely misses and it still blows up when it hits the ground. And it's like, that just is epically awful for you. I apologize.
Yeah, you don't get a second chance once that thing goes off.
Nope. And once the cat's out of the bag, it's kind of like, all right, well, this didn't go as planned.
All right, let's jump into it. Pretty good weekend for wrestling. I like when pay-per-views like this come on like the holiday weekends. Like I enjoy this. Not that this one was late because it was the Saudi Arabia one. So
you watching All In after this?
I planned on it. I'm gonna find a link and try to watch it.
Yep.
I'm not paying for it. So.
No, yeah, neither am I. But yeah, it can be found more than likely.
Yeah, I got a couple
websites. We don't
websites.
Condone that.
Oh, I do. Oh, I do. These guys are making so much. You know what I mean? Just put it on the streaming platforms already and stop trying to rip us off.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was trying to save face, but if that's your stance,
no. At this point, at this point, it's 2024. It should be on a streaming platform.
Yeah,
there's no.
Even WWE,
you guys already rip us off.
Yeah, even WWE, in theory, when you think about it, doesn't charge. Doesn't charge $50 for a pay-per-view anymore. It's when you think about it, when you break it down, it's $5 or $7.50, whatever Peacock's lowest subscription tier is at nowadays.
Right, and you still get that streaming platform, which Peacock has some good stuff on it too.
Honestly, Peacock, in my opinion, is the best because just almost every show that I'd want to watch is conveniently on Peacock, including Traders, which if you've never watched Traders and like reality show gameplay that's like actually about the gameplay and not about like extracurriculars, greatest reality show on TV.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I've never heard of it.
I
watch they have Psych. I'm a big Psych guy.
Yeah, Psych. I watched that a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's like one of those nighttime shows. You know, like I throw it on, just no brainer, just throw it on, forget about it, and it's background noise. That in The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's all on Peacock.
I love 9-9.
Dude, I love it. I absolutely love those shows, dude. How did you feel before we jump like into match by match? How did you feel about this show, The King of the Ring?
Overall, I thought it was great. There were definitely some twists and turns I wasn't expecting. I was kind of surprised on some of the things that they ended up in the past they were going, but not in a bad way. I thought everything they did was perfect. It sets up feuds down the line. I like the idea. We'll kind of get into the very last or the second to last and last matches, but I like the direction that we might be going with what's going on after this pay-per-view. Live event, whatever.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting. I thought they did a good job. I hate the Saudi Arabia ones because usually it's kind of like, usually they bring back like the nostalgia acts and they do all that stuff, but this one had none of that. And
it was great. Yeah, it was great. It was just like a legitimate pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And they're just hoping we all forget how
it was
not great the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia kind of really is.
Yeah, all that blood money they're funneling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's so bad.
Hopefully I don't end up dead.
It's so bad, dude. But the UFC does it. Everybody else is doing it.
UFC does it. Money. They've sport washed the Western Hemisphere.
It's just so crazy, like how people and what they had that live golf thing too, right? That was them.
Yeah, that's still technically a league, even though they've merged. It still exists. It's a whole thing. That's a different show,
right? Right. I remember that being a big thing, and everybody's like, "How can you take that money?" And I'm like, "Dude, if they were throwing the money they threw at Brooks Koepka, and when they were like, how can you take that money?" I'm like, "How could you not take that money to golf? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're doing the same thing on these boring tournaments. Like 90% of those tournaments don't mean anything, and now they're allowed to play in like the the Masters and all these other big ones, like all the majors. Like, why wouldn't you take that money?
Yeah, especially seeing as like like you do well as a professional golfer, but you don't do $500 million well in one contract.
Right. It's so crazy. And you don't get like what they say, if you don't place, like you don't get paid or whatever it is, like your sponsors pay you and stuff. But
the
live guys get paid no matter what.
Yeah,
if they win or not.
But see, and that kind of ruined it. I mean, again, different show, but like that kind of ruined it too, because the live golf tournaments didn't have the same juice because everyone was already so well paid that like they were kind of just playing golf to play golf. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where they were falling off, and they didn't have a good TV deal. And the PGA Tour still kind of had that juice of like, well, you're not gonna win the purse, you're not gonna win a lot of money, you're not gonna win the jacket. So there was a reason they ended up merging, because it was kind of the best of both worlds.
Right. And I think whoever it was, the Saudi Arabian investors, really eventually what they were trying to do was get a piece of the PGA, because that's what they've been trying to do for years. Like that was the end goal. But that's another, like you're saying, that's like another show. We could do a whole nother show.
That's a different show.
Yeah. So let's jump into it. The first match of the night was on that pre-show. Thank God it was on the pre-show, which that was a weird whole pre-show thing they did. It was like 2 hours long. It was way too long. I was like fast forwarding. I'm like, well, what the hell is going on? Because like I watched the replay of it because I forgot it was on immediately. So I'm like, I can just, dude, too much. But we had Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I love Indy Hartwell. I think she's doing great right now. I feel like she's putting out her best work.
Yeah, she's a good. I've been a fan of hers, and I like the 1B role she's playing to Candice, and Candice's heel turn, and she's kind of, you can't tell if she's fully into it, if she's kind of just playing a part, but she is doing heelish things, and the character works there. I mean, I think they're both entertaining. They're very good. Right. I wish they were given a little bit more. I really wish they would reform the way. But that's probably a wishful thinking, especially with Dexter Lumis presumably being in the Wyatt Six. But yeah, it's unfortunate that they were fed to the buzzsaw that's Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill.
Yeah, and they weren't even impressive in the match at all. Like, I don't know. Jade, she looks like $1 million, and she's not polished as a wrestler yet. Like, and I know that, but like sometimes when she does stuff, I'm like, oh, that's not.
It doesn't look great.
It doesn't look great. You know what I mean? Like, I think they could do a better job of hiding it, maybe. Or I know they tried to in this match because Bianca took the majority of the minutes, but it wasn't a great showing, I don't think, for Jade. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
I'm just hoping she doesn't go the way of Goldberg, where it's like 3 moves and then that's it. You know what I mean? Like I want a little bit more, or at least just polish up like choreograph what you're doing more, like work on what you're doing more. I feel like maybe there could be more time put in, like planning and choreographing exactly what they're going to do, especially if they're going to try not bigger spots, but more involved spots, like make sure that they can be executed pretty well, or maybe it's just a bright lights thing. Maybe, when she's in the ring in front of all these people, maybe it's just a little bit tougher for her. Like that is a thing, not necessarily stage fright, but maybe she just doesn't perform as well because there's more pressure. Like could be a million different things, but I'm hoping, down the line as the year goes on that stuff gets ironed out. And it's most likely why she's in a tag team with Bianca Belair right now. She can work on those things, and realistically, it's not going to matter all that much if the matches aren't all that great because they don't really focus on the women's tag team division anyway, and they can build a story in the background,
It allows her to get in front of the audience and get the work done still, and so they're getting a return on their investment is what they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the only way I can put it, and it makes sense. And whenever she's ready, she's ready. And if it turns out that she's not, then you can kind of navigate through those waters by still protecting her and protecting your money.
Yeah, it's a similar play to what AEW is doing with Mercedes Moné. Obviously, different story because she is injured. Although I think actually she should be tonight making her in-ring debut. I think she's facing Willow for the TNT Championship tonight. But it's basically kind of the same thing where, they kind of iced her for so long that I think they were like, listen, we don't know if you're 100% ready, but we kind of need ROI on this investment. So like, we're going to put you in a tag with Bianca Belair and slow burn this breakup and build to this, maybe at SummerSlam, maybe at WrestleMania, Survivor Series, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Maybe match one is without a title. And then at WrestleMania, they meet again for a title, like who knows, something like that.
Yeah, that's really possible. So they win. Obviously, they keep their titles. Not a very it's a very anticlimactic match. Like they had some spots, wasn't great.
We all knew it was going to happen.
Wasn't right, exactly, and it was pretty telegraphed. And then the first match on the main card, which I don't know. I was hoping they didn't open up with this one. To be honest with you, I kind of wanted Gunther versus Randy Orton to lead off the show, because I figured they weren't going to be the main event, but if they went first, they would set the tone for the show.
Yeah, I agree.
But they went with Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch. Liv Morgan gets the win. Huge spot.
With help from Dirty Dom, the condom.
Right. Which was weird how they did it, because like he didn't intentionally do it.
Plausible.
He was trying to help Becky, right? Because
that's the way it was. That's the way it's supposed to look.
Did you see the tweet by Damian Priest?
Yes, I did. There was also video of Liv Morgan and Finn Balor getting out of the same vehicle behind a shot on Raw from Monday. It was either this past Raw or the Raw before. So they're teasing even more little weird things with Liv in the Judgment Day, because nothing they do is coincidence. So seeing them two exiting the same vehicle in the background, because basically someone's getting interviewed, and you could see off in the distance there was a black the same Suburban they use for all of their road trips. And Finn gets out and walks around the car, and then Liv Morgan walks the other direction from the same vehicle. And I think it was pretty apparent they were setting up for that.
I don't know if it's you or me, but you're coming in and out. It's like
it might be me. Let me move my mic a little bit closer. I'll just hold on to it. How's this?
No, it's not that. I think it's the internet. I think it's just a connection. I think it was just it got real weird. It happens, dude. It happens to Buddy more than anybody else I've ever seen, but it does happen to everybody.
I got to talk to Buddy. I think he needs to look into upgrading the internet package where he is. I think it's ultimately what does him in.
And what I was telling him was just go off your phone if there's that many people on the internet. You know what I mean? Like just feed your computer off your phone.
Yeah.
But I'd have to show him how to. I'd have to show him how to do that. I don't know if he knows how to do that.
And it depends on what cell service he has too. Because if it's not T-Mobile or Verizon, that's probably not worth it. No offense if you have AT&T.
Yeah, no, you're probably right about that, dude. But anyway, yeah. So Liv Morgan finally gets the win. Dom obviously involved. That's the route they're going. And eventually, I think there's all roads lead back to Rhea.
Yeah, 100%.
Where this goes.
Hopefully,
Like, and I
SummerSlam is
love.
probably what they're aiming for.
Ooh, that'd be a quick return for her. I don't know if she's gonna be ready for that.
I mean, it's only an AC
You think?
joint sprain. It's already been a month or two, and that's 3 months from now ish, right? Because it's August. So I mean,
Is it August?
yeah, I think it might be July. I forget when they usually run those. I think it's in August though. But either way, I mean, AC joint sprain that's between like 3.5 to 6 months. So if she's good to go, it could, you know what I mean. It's just spitballing, you know what I mean. I don't know, but that it is. They're going to split the Judgment Day. There's going to be something that goes on between like half of them are going to be with
Right.
Liv, half of them are still going to be maybe not faithful to Rhea Ripley, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it.
I think that group should just disband. Just break it up. Let them go on their own way. Let Finn go on his own way. He doesn't have to be linked with those guys. I think it's time for Damian Priest to get his own kind of shine on. Dom can just go with Liv until his shoulder heals up, and then we'll figure out the Rhea storyline with them. And what's the other guy? Fuck,
JD McDonough.
JD McDonough. Whatever.
Did you see the article I sent you earlier in the week? They
no.
There was they're calling it a tease. I just think it was strategic placement. That in a shot with the Judgment Day draped over something, but it was like very in view, was a Finn Balor Demon T-shirt, or something with the Finn Balor Demon logo on it, that was very visible in the background. So some people caught on to it and think that there may be teasing of the eventual return of that demon persona. So that could even hint more towards a split too. Vince Russo thinks Vince Russo thinks that Finn's getting the Money in the Bank contract this year too. So fingers crossed. Normally things he predicts are pretty freaking wrong. So I'm hoping this is the one time he's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Russo, but sometimes he's off the mark with some stuff.
Oh, he's usually always off the mark. He's usually pretty bad. But it's just more things, more speculatory, more flames being fanned. I've been saying it for weeks now that I typically, at least when Vince was running the promotion, and I think we are going to see it with WWE, with Triple H heading creative. People, when they re-sign, especially bigger names, because like Finn could go anywhere and be a big name, but I think him re-signing and basically saying like, this is where I'm gonna die here, basically. I think they give him another push. I mean, and again, I don't know if it's gonna be a big push, heel, face, how long, but I think he will get at least a world heavyweight championship run. Maybe he won't get the WWE championship. Whatever. I think eventually. I do too. Bias, definitely. I do too. But I think at least they put a main roster title on him at some point within the next 2 years. I just think it's just they're going to reward him for re-signing.
I agree with that. I wouldn't mind seeing him take the Intercontinental title. I do want to see him in the title mix, though, like the world title mix, because I think he deserves that. I think he deserves that.
Bias aside, I mean, I just think in general, the dude has been a workhorse. He fought back from injury. He's changed his persona. He's gone heel. He's brought the Prince back. He's done he's done everything that they've asked him to, and for the most part, excelled. There was a period of time, obviously, when he was like the inordinary, like whatever he was kind of calling himself, the inordinary extraordinary. It's something weird, but he was definitely getting labeled as a very boring wrestler, and that was a big thing. But I think he's remade himself a few times and shown that he can do character work. He obviously, his in-ring talent is immense, so I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Sorry, I was putting our podcast in a few different other groups. I had forgotten to do that. To the AEW fans, I'm sorry, we're not going to have time to cover the shows, but I'll do some kind of a video after tonight. I think maybe we'll do a show earlier in the week, and then we can talk about all the other stuff. Like we'll talk about Raw and the AEW pay-per-view. That's going to be tonight, because I am going to watch that pay-per-view. I think I'm excited to see Malachi Black versus Edge. I'm excited. Like they have a good card. Like
I just want to see what that entrance is going to look like for Edge.
It's going to be interesting.
They're going to do a Brood-like entrance. I don't know if they could copy it exactly, but it's dumping the bucket of blood, which again, for organization that didn't want to do gimmicky things and have, like if they wanted to focus on the wrestling, like you're sure calling back to some old like gimmicky style things, but I mess with it. So
with the Edge stuff, with the Brood thing, I think this has been a long time coming because he wanted to do this in the WWE, and the WWE told him no. Yep. Yeah, they were like, no, listen. And he's like, I think that fans do remember this, and I think they would like to be rewarded for remembering it. And so I think this is more like an Edge nod to his fans for like calling out the Brood and stuff like that. So like, I'm excited to see it. Hopefully, I mean, why wouldn't Gangrel be a part of it?
Yeah, exactly. I think he's on their payroll or something too. Like they have him. There was something I remember an article about him being involved with AEW at some point, and like they were going to do something with him and had to pull it because the WWE kind of did like a Brood entrance for Edge at one point where he came up from the stage with the fire and they did like the breathing and stuff. Obviously, just Gangrel wasn't with them, so they were. Right. I remember AEW was going to use him in some way and then ended up pulling it at the last second because WWE kind of beat them to the punch. So I'd expect to see it again tonight as his entrance.
I think so too. I think you're right about that. So the next match, we get the Intercontinental Championship match. It was a triple threat. It was Chad Gable, Bronson Reed versus Sami Zayn. It all ended, I think, how we expected it to end. But the twist was there already with Otis and Chad Gable. I like that.
Yeah, with Otis kind of really having that like mental, like should I, shouldn't I, and then deciding to do it, and still ended up hitting Chad Gable anyway. They're just planting seeds, right. Man. I think Gable still gets this Intercontinental Championship at some point. Otis maybe is going to be the guy that dethrones him. Maybe it's a short turnaround. Maybe they feud for it. I don't know, but they're planting the seeds. And I like I said, I still firmly believe is another guy who I think that good character work and sportsmanship should be rewarded. I do think nothing against Sami Zayn, but Gable as a heel should hold that championship in the near future.
Right now, I feel like it's his time. I don't see how you can deny it. He just got hot at the right time, and you got to reward that. Like he's going to run with it, and him as a heel makes a lot of sense considering all the shit you put him through. So why not give him a chance?
It's working, like it's almost like a little bit of an edgier Kurt Angle when Kurt Angle went full heel. Like it's just a great, it's just a great gimmick that he's got, and again 100% thinks the dude's so strong. Like they did a spot, they did the triple German suplex spot, but like he was the bottom German suplexing Bronson Reed, who was German suplexing Sami. Like Bronson Reed's a big boy. Like that's a lot impressive. Yeah, it's impressive. Like the guy works hard. He looks good in the ring. Like give him the Intercontinental Championship already.
I just want Bronson Reed out of my mid-card title picture. Just keep him off my TV.
I do not speaking of boring, like he's just very boring. Like there's nothing. I don't his character, like he's just another monster kind of guy, and it's like I'm sorry, like the only one that I like is Braun Strowman. Like I'm not interested in another monster among men type guy.
There is nothing about him that makes me want to turn my TV on when he's on TV.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm like, I don't get it. I didn't like him when he was in NXT. I don't like him on the main roster. I get it. You want to feed him to some guys, make them look better. All right, that's fine. But I don't want to see him in the title picture. I just don't.
Yeah, hopefully this is kind of it for him, and now it becomes more personal between Zayn and
I hope so, because I think that's the route to go.
Yeah, I mean, Zayn is such a hot face that like that's you don't drop a title to a lukewarm heel or another face. Like it's got to be a hot heel, and that's what Chad Gable is for the mid card. That's what he is right now. So it's a perfect person for him to lose the Intercontinental Championship to.
And it's not right after Mania, so Zayn's got a little bit of a title run here, and we can still switch titles without taking away anything from what Zayn did and what Gunther did, because now it's separate. I think it's separated from Gunther's title run enough.
Yeah.
I think you can switch title hands.
And I think Gable's credible.
Yes, very much so. And like you said, this is probably the best work he's done.
Yep.
Probably since the Alpha Academy, I'd say.
The beginning, yeah, when he came up with the shoosh and the thank you, like all that, just like the catchphrases that just worked. It was so good.
It was so corny, but it was good because
exactly.
Right exactly. Yeah. Right, he bought into it and it made sense. It was like the Bo Dallas thing. Like Bo Dallas was cheesy as hell, but everybody bought I
Everyone
bought into it.
believed, man.
Dude, I'm such a big Bo Dallas guy. Like his early NXT work was so amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
but if you believe in something,
yeah, if you can get behind
really,
it, like,
right, take whatever they give you, take it and run with it, and try to make the best out of it, and it'll show. You know what I mean? Like something that the WWE says all the time. Like just make it work. Some of the dumbest characters in the world get over. Like it just happens all the
Goldust
time.
was over, maybe in a
Goldust,
heel way, but like
Goldust was such a strange character. He did it so perfectly. Doink the Clown even got over for a little bit. Like say whatever you want about Doink. When Matt Bourne did it, it was a good gimmick for him.
Yeah,
it was really good. Anyway, before I get too off track, because I will get off topic talking about Doink, Nia Jax somehow defeats Lyra Valkyrie. How?
I mean it makes sense, and I'm glad that they didn't necessarily insult the not intelligence, but it's one of those things where like in a world like where does a smaller person like Lyra Valkyrie get over on Nia? Nia's been doing real good heel work. She hasn't been awful. She came back after being let go. Like she's kind of just stepping into that heel. Like she's fully aware that basically the majority of WWE fans hate her, to the point where in her interview she said, like, I know none of you wanted this for me, but she said, I know none of you wanted me to do this, but I did it for me, or something along those lines. Like, you know, if they're gonna put her in a title scene, you know, maybe she'll beat Liv, or, you know, maybe they feed her to oh my god, who's the women's champion? Bayley. You know, like maybe she goes up against Bayley and it defeats Bayley. Like I don't no idea how they're gonna go with it, but it makes sense to me. I just wish it wasn't
she
her,
gets a title shot at SummerSlam, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm presuming is the I just don't know if they've specified, because I've seen with the men's winner
on your I think it's on your brand.
Let's say, because I've seen the men's winner, they've talked about which championship he's getting a shot at, but I've also seen other people talking about him potentially feuding with Cody, which we'll get into why I'm very excited if that's the case. Previously mentioned on the show. Yeah.
But Gunther's on Raw, right?
Yep. Spoiler.
Yeah, so
wait, we're not there yet, man.
I don't see it.
We haven't gotten
to that's the very next. That Nia Jax, that move at the end of the match was very well timed and well done. That was cool that she did that. Like I thought that was cool.
It was one of her best matches, to be honest. It was when she needed to put on a good match. It was one of her better matches.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of Nia.
I'm not the biggest fan either, but I am okay with rewarding people who are team players. Like, not everyone, you know, a lot of people go into business for themselves because they think they're bigger than the company, which, like, unfortunately, you're kind of not. You know, like it's
right.
So, you know, there's times obviously when it makes sense, but, you know, for Nia, like, she seems to have worked on her in-ring performance. She's not as unsafe as she used to be. So, I mean, I don't like it, but just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not necessarily a good direction.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It just, for me, was very disappointing.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. Yeah. I didn't expect Nia to win. I just didn't.
This was the first match where, like, you going into it, you were like, this actually could go either way. Like, I really don't know. Right. I think the triple threat Intercontinental Championship match had a little bit of that, but to me, this was the first one where you were like, I actually don't know who they're putting over here.
Yeah, looking back, that you kind of knew who was winning in every match.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, you're right. This one was the only one so far in the card where I was like, The next one, another one that I thought could have went either way, Gunther versus Randy Orton.
I thought this had to end the way it did, but it still could have gone either way.
Right. Because they built it up as Randy's never won King of the Ring. He's got a decorated career. This would look great on his mantle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have I'm a big Randy Orton mark, so I would have loved if Randy Orton won King of the Ring.
And for me personally, I do, and I've said this multiple times, I'm not like a huge Randy Orton fan, but I definitely respect the work he's done, the fact that he's still around, and just like just who he is overall. But for me personally, at this point in his career and Gunther's career, I think right here, which I'm glad he was, you have to be kind of the bigger star and put over who's going to be the next bigger star. As much as being King of the Ring, I think would be great for Randy Orton, I don't think it's something he necessarily needs to cement any kind of legacy, pun intended. So I think him doing the deed for Gunther here is 100% the right move, because you need to kind of rebuild Gunther now that he's no longer the Intercontinental Champion, and elevate him like he's now clearly in the main event scene.
Right. This puts him directly in the title picture, which is what everybody wants. And we obviously knew that Gunther was going to get in this title picture eventually. Now, which title picture is he going into?
Yeah, so I've seen everything basically saying it's going to be him and whoever is the World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam. I personally would love to see that. So if I'm booking right now, what I do is I keep him miles away from the World Heavyweight Championship scene, because I think in reality that scene is going to be somewhat of a triple or quadruple threat mix between CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, and Finn Balor. And you can interchange Jey Uso and Finn Balor with Damian Priest. One of those two guys could be Damian Priest, could not. I think you see, and ultimately they're going to do something big with Drew and CM Punk. I think at some point it'll be for the World Heavyweight Championship, but realistically, almost like The Rock and Roman, you don't need the championship for that feud and for the culmination of that feud to be a huge hit. So I think that's why I want him to stay away from that, because that is already set up in the World Heavyweight Championship scene. And it's not even mentioning Seth Rollins' return. I've said it before, and I will say it again, especially, we're going to go over what we went over, the No Way Out pay-per-view. We haven't had a legitimate star heel and legitimate star face in this company in decades. And they have an opportunity to put the WWE Championship on Gunther at some point, completely shattering the illusion of Cody Rhodes and building him up as a huge heel, and still having this hot face to then have them go back and forth for presumably years if they want to. Yeah. Flip-flopping the title every so often and creating almost, in my opinion, the same thing that we had with The Rock and Stone Cold, and to a degree Triple H as well, because there was a period where the four of them were kind of the top three.
You're missing a rivalry Nope. You're missing a rivalry that did that for years, that carried the company too. Cena versus Orton was huge.
Yeah, for me, that it was a different era, though. I don't think.
No, it was a different era completely, but that was the biggest face and biggest heel that they had. Yeah, and they were monsters too. Cena was huge.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right.
Thank you.
But
I used to enjoy that as a Randy Orton mark. That was like my favorite. You know what I mean? Because it took forever for Orton to get over the hump and all that stuff. So,
hey, he was the youngest champion in history. He was just a stud from the beginning. The stuff he did in Evolution was so much fun to watch.
They had that down perfect. The four of those guys were perfect. It was Triple H, who was the biggest heel going, and obviously, you know what I mean, cements his place as one of the greatest of all time. Then you have one of the greatest of all time aging out with a young monster in Batista to protect him, and then you had Randy Orton, the young up and comer dude. They were
the legacy.
Perfect. They were, they were so perfect. It was Evolution was so great.
Yep, one of my favorite factions of all time. 100%.
They were so good. Like, the work they did was so good. And then when Randy gets the championship and Triple H just gives him
the thumbs down and he gets booted out. Oh, yep. It's great moment in wrestling history.
But you're right. I think Gunther and Cody Rhodes could be the biggest draw for this generation. You have long-term storytelling ability with those two. But is that why you keep Gunther on Raw and have him chase that title picture and keep him away from Cody for now, and then just build up the anticipation even more?
So probably, because we're probably heading for another love triangle between Cody, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. But I just think at WrestleMania, it can't be Cody and The Rock or Cody and Roman. It has to be Roman and The Rock. And it can't have a championship because it just doesn't need it. And I would just hate the thought of The Rock coming back and inserting himself in winning a championship or having a championship involved when he doesn't need it, especially after I think we both watched today. He doesn't need that rub anymore. He just needs it's just a good story between him and Roman. And I'm honestly still super excited to see what happens with the bloodline, with all the new bloodline members that are coming and have not yet debuted. But I hope, yeah, I mean, he probably will. But that's the thing too, is if he ends up winning the World Heavyweight Championship, talking about Gunther, he's not going to drop it. Like, you can't just drop it right away. And I, again, still think that championship needs to be held by CM Punk and Damian Priest over the next 7 or 8 months. Like, that needs to be a thing. That feud should have that title for a portion of time.
You mean McIntyre, right?
Yeah, who did Punk I say? Damian Priest.
Yeah. You said Priest. Yeah, I
Too many names.
Somehow I think McIntyre gets screwed at Clash of the Champions or whatever it is at the Castle or whatever. I think Punk screws him over and then Punk gets a title match, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's going to be weird. And Punk's the draw, so we need that McIntyre payoff, and we need Punk to have the title.
I would like, so I like what you're saying too. I would like to see CM Punk screw Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest retains, Finn then eventually takes the title off of Damian Priest, and I really think Finn Balor versus CM Punk could be a phenomenal matchup. To me, that's a dream match that I didn't think I'd ever get to see.
That's fair. That would be an amazing. I mean, those two are great, so that would be a fun match to watch. But I just don't. I think with everybody going right now, I don't think they're going to introduce Balor into the title program just yet. I think
probably not. I mean, we'll have to wait to Money in the Bank to see who actually comes out of that. Because I mean, it could be Finn again. Like, he's
could be
a
Punk.
guy that it could be Punk. You're right. Like they were going to reward somebody. Like I still firmly believe between him, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, CM Punk, those four, in four, obviously referencing Finn Balor as well, are going to hold the World Heavyweight Championship at some point within the next 2 years. Like those are, I think that's going to be that feud on that side, or that.
Or what if McIntyre wins at Clash of the Champions, right? Or Clash of the whatever they call it, Clash of the Castle, Clash of Champions, whatever. Punk wins the Money in the Bank and then just taunts him relentlessly.
That would be great television.
Right? Because then we keep that rivalry alive.
Yeah. Think of it this though. Imagine him taunting him for months and months and months and months, and then he cashes in for the WWE Championship. And then he goes on to be like, hey, by the way, man, like, that's great you have that World Heavyweight Championship, but this is the real one. This is the one that matters. Yeah, like, that's booking that, like, that's long-term booking that I don't think that they are going to do, because it probably doesn't make the money, but would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious. I that might be the way they go. I'd love to see Punk with the Money in the Bank just teasing McIntyre every time he turns around, him just holding the briefcase. Like, and Punk would cut like some of the best promos too.
Yeah.
Like, that, dude. Oh man.
He'd be the one that like one day would open it up and be like, hey, this is empty, by the way. Like, I'm messing with you with an empty briefcase. Like, something stupid. Like, there's nothing in here, man.
Dude, he would be the perfect one for that. Mm-hmm. I'm talking myself into this, like I'm writing it and I'm getting excited, and that's probably not even the route they're gonna go.
It's gonna end, and it's gonna be like, it's
it's gonna be someone completely different than what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
All right, main event time: Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul. What a match, dude! What a match! I enjoyed it. I do not like Logan Paul. I respect him for what he's done in WWE. He continues to impress every time he steps in that ring.
I think this is why he works as a heel so well, because like fans like us, like I also hate Logan Paul and the fact that he is a character in the WWE. But like, goddamn, did that guy pick it up quick and just puts it? He's athletic and he has an idea of what he's doing, and it works really well. It's surprising to see someone who is this talented, who's been around for a year and a half, and isn't really a full-time performer.
Dude, he's picked this up so quick. his in-ring psychology is like above what anybody else's would be at the experience that he has.
That's a little different though, because he's had years of like an online persona where he's been able to tweak like his character.
I think
his
it's a lot
character work
different when you're doing it live, though.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
well, I mean, a lot of, I guess, live in front of people, yeah, definitely. But I'm not going to necessarily give him the mic work and the promo work because I think it's something that he has been technically working on for a very long time. It just he's just a showman, and it translates well in front of people. But it's the moveset that he has. I mean, dude, he frog splashed Cody through a table, and that's like a spot that like you'd think a part-time guy would never do, and it looked really freaking good.
Dude, he's just so good. And it annoys me because I don't like him, but man, is he good, dude.
And that's why he still has the United States Championship.
Yeah.
I will say it's set up perfectly for LA Knight to pick steam back up to beat Logan Paul at SummerSlam for the United States Championship.
I would think that that's coming, right? Because they got to take that U.S. title off him soon.
Yeah, so they had a little stare down on Raw or SmackDown, whichever, I forget which, SmackDown, a couple weeks ago, and it's like I've seen rumors online and on some articles that like that's probably the next route they go, and it in theory when you think about it, like LA Knight, who has cooled off a little bit but still has like whenever he enters the ring, like he has the fans in his hand. What perfect way to get him instant face, not heat, but like. Instant like credibility as a face again by taking the title off of someone who, despite how good he's been, is unanimously hated by the WWE universe.
Right. I completely agree with that. I think that would be amazing, dude. What did you think about the match in its entirety, though? Did you like it?
I thought it was really good. But again, it's one of those matches where I'm glad it was as good as it was because there was no way that they were letting Logan Paul take the WWE Championship off of Cody Rhodes.
Very fair, dude.
Like there was no way.
No, you're absolutely right. There was no way of that happening. But it was still at points I was like, he might do it.
Yeah, they worked it good enough to where you were like when he actually got the brass knuckles and you were like, please don't do this. Please don't do this.
And Michael Cole was losing his mind. Dude. He was Michael Cole is doing the best work of his career. I'm sad that Pat McAfee doesn't do these overseas trips. I completely understand from his perspective why he doesn't do them.
Yeah.
But man, Michael Cole is he's killing it on the mic, dude.
It is amazing what happens when you're just allowed to do your job. When you don't have to worry about your boss screaming in your ear because things aren't going the way he plans or you said something you weren't supposed to. It's when you are just allowed to call something as you see it and just do it. It's amazing how much better the product is.
And he's always had the talent.
Yeah.
That's the one thing with Michael Cole. He's always had the talent. So it's not like we're like, oh, this came out of nowhere. Michael Cole's always been a talented dude. Now he's just putting it all together and having fun with it. And it's like the best work we've seen in so many years. Like,
so you want to know what's the greatest segue of all time?
Go ahead.
So watching No Way Out 2001, did you catch the backstage interview where Michael Cole with his frosted blonde tips and his little squeaky mouse like character? I saw that and I was like, oh my God, a 20 years younger Michael Cole with frosted tips. Like it was like Jake Peralta when he goes to Florida.
Dude, I watched an interview when he was talking about the frosted tips and he was talking about all this other stuff. And they asked him what they say, what was the most awkward or what was the worst thing that you did in WWE? And he talked about the Snitsky thing when like Snitsky like held. He's like, it made me so uncomfortable. Like, I remember watching that as a kid and just being like, ugh, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, Snitsky that was a bad mistake on their part with Snitsky. Did not.
They did some stuff in the early 2000s that was like a little questionable at best.
Yeah.
That was one of them, dude. Or when Kane kicked the baby into the crowd.
Yep.
I just remember like all these random things of wrestling and just get a crack out of them when I watch them. It's just so funny to see.
Kane was involved in a couple of them.
Yeah.
Katie Vick will always go down in infamy.
Dude, all right. So the original Midcard, we did a segment. We were just a radio one where you couldn't see video or anything. And we did we covered the whole Katie Vick thing. We covered the Kane versus Triple H rivalry, and it was rewatching that was like odd.
Yeah, it's tough. Like it does not hold up well.
No, dude, it was so weird, dude. It's so strange. Oh man, I just remember all three of us were just like,
I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, we were all like this. We really watched this as kids, dude. Like, I love when the WWE messes stuff up like that. It just burns. It's just burned into your memory forever, dude.
It's so awful that it's never escaping.
Like the Papa Shango in Ultimate Warrior gimmick, like that will be forever burned into my mind. Like the Ultimate Warrior just like shaking and puking and anyway, so the first match of let me change this ticket.
Oh, wait a minute, got one too. When the Boogeyman bit off the boil on Jillian Hall or whatever her name was, his face.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh god, that's right. I forgot about that. Or when Mark Henry, when Mae Young gave birth to a hand.
To a hand. Oh my god.
Like that was another one. Oh, we should do like a we should do like a top 10 cringe list, and I'll try to pull up videos.
I 100% agree because it could get real weird real fast.
There's so many weird things in wrestling, but that's what makes wrestling. It's so much fun. Like you just never know. You think it's going one way, and then Mae Young, an 80-something-year-old woman, pops out a hand.
You think it's gonna be normal.
Yeah, you think it's like somewhat normal, but then you're like, oh, she's 80 years old, and now she's giving birth to a hand.
Yeah.
I miss stuff like that. Like that stuff was great. Anyway, Rikishi versus Matt Hardy. Disqualification. Rikishi wins. Not a great match.
No.
Great. It was a short one. It was only a few minutes long, so it wasn't like it dragged on or anything like that.
I think this was after Rikishi's push too.
Yes,
or like on the backslide, because this was after Kurt Angle had won the Hell in a Cell, where the Undertaker kind of like choke pushes Rikishi off the cell into the hay truck.
That's right. Yeah, it was. I did it for the Rock. Yeah, that Rikishi did get a good push for a little while. He was interesting to watch. I didn't mind Rikishi, but this was a quick match. He takes the loss. Matt Hardy gets the win. This is before all the Edge stuff, obviously, because he's still with Lita.
Mm-hmm. It happens quick.
Matt Hardy, man. I feel like they tried to like really make a singles push out of him before they went to Jeff.
Well, they kind of
like
had
a long
to.
time, right? Because of Jeff's behaviors and stuff like that. But like, man, Matt Hardy, not great.
Yeah, he was as the
kind of
version
stale
one. Yeah, as well. He was.
Version one was when he had those things on the side of the screen when he was like,
the
Matt Hardy doesn't like.
Yeah,
he's like Matt Hardy doesn't like mustard or whatever it is. Like he just, I used to love that. He loved mayonnaise and like stupid shit like that. I would always love when he did.
It worked, but it never worked.
So
well.
That's the perfect way to describe it. Like it was good for a pop, but it would never last.
Because initially, when he went on to start his singles run, they still held on to that Hardy gimmick, and it just didn't work with just him. With him and Lita, it just wasn't. It wasn't as over because people wanted Jeff.
Right, because he was the more exciting out of the two.
Yeah.
And then we get the Big Show versus Raven in a hardcore title match. I completely forgot about the 24/7 rule until everybody started piling out of the locker room.
Same.
And then Raven loses the title mid-match, by the way.
To
Billy Gunn, right? And then he wins it back just in time to take a choke slam from the Big Show. And so the Big Show beats Raven. Dude, that was so strange. Like I forgot about the 24/7 rule.
It was even weirder that like Billy Gunn won and then his music hit, but like it played for a little bit and then stopped, and then they kept wrestling. And then and then Raven, you know what I mean? Like they would keep, and like the Big Show's music played after he won. And like it played for a little bit longer, and then he started kicking the crap out of Billy Gunn at the ringside. And I'm like, I think they're trying to play you out, man. Like your music's playing, like just leave. Like he's dead. Go,
dude. That was a wild match. It was good. I thought it was pretty decent. It was just too much going on in like the towards the end of it. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
It was
Like
very creepy.
it was.
You know what
That
had me?
24/7 rule is so weird.
You know what really
had
had me? Steven Blackman coming out with his freaking nunchucks, dude, and just going to town with nunchucks. I'm like, dude, what? I forgot this guy was a thing. Like, I forgot all about this.
Dude, Steve Blackman was the best.
And then Hardcore Holly with his stiff chair shots.
Dude, you've obviously heard the stories about Hardcore Holly and like how stiff he is and all that stuff.
Yes.
And then when you watch it back, you're like, oh man, he was laying it. But it's not like he meant anything by it. That's just how he did it.
Sometimes he was one of those guys, I think, who was kind of a dick to like people he didn't like or young superstars.
Yeah, but you expect that. But I'm saying, like, in entirety, he was stiff with everybody. He would take liberties on some guys that he didn't like. But man, when he hit you, man, that you had to feel it. Because you're right. Those chair shots that he delivered, I was like, oh,
yeah,
oh, dude, my goodness. And then one of the better a 4-way title match for the Intercontinental title. Stacked to the gills with Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, who was, I think this is like prime Chris Jericho too. 2001.
This was right before his big push.
This is right when he started gaining steam in the WWE, like when everything started to click for Jericho. Then you had X-Pac, underrated wrestling mind in the business. Like you hear Scott Hall, like when he was alive, talk about it, and Kevin Nash talk about his mind for the business. And then you have Chris Benoit, obviously. What a match this was, though. 4-way title match for the Intercontinental title. I thought they did a good job. I don't like 4-way title matches because I feel like it takes away. Like there's too much going on at times. I feel like.
Yeah, you're right. And there's always, it starts out hectic, and then there's always 2 people outside the ring, 2 people inside the ring, and it always flip flops, and you get a hectic 3 minutes, and then 2 other. It's a very like predictable. It's predictably played out, and I think there's a reason you don't see them as much in the WWE nowadays. Because when you think about like when's the last time you really can remember seeing one like that, because they do require a lot more work to make them look legitimate, if that makes sense.
Right. No, yeah. But for a 4-way title match, this one was a pretty good one.
At the time, it was probably 4 of your best wrestlers that you had. I mean, I still, in the grand scheme of things, I was never a big X-Pac fan. So I don't think he necessarily belonged in this match, in my opinion, from the outside looking in. I'm sure there was like storyline as to why he was there or something, obviously, because we're watching it kind of out of context. But in my opinion, like looking at it, like to me, he was the odd man out, where it was just kind of like, because like Justin Credible comes in to like help him out, and it's like, you two do not belong here. Like you are in the wrong. This is the wrong neighborhood, man. Right,
but he filled in that match pretty well.
I mean, he's very athletic. Like he had like that, the spinning back kick that he does, I think it looks really good. Just to me, I would have liked to see, I don't know, somebody else there, but it is what it is. Like it's fine. I thought it was great that he was the one who got pinned. Like as he's sitting there like jumping up and down, like, yeah, I kicked Chris Benoit in the face, and then he gets pinned. He gets like back. Like I don't even know what that roll up's called, but
it's a schoolboy, right?
No, it wasn't a schoolboy. It was because Jericho like German suplexed him. I forget how to describe it, but it's like a bridge. It's like something with a bridge. It's like a backpack bridge or something like that.
Oh,
but,
yeah. But yeah, so that was a great match. I thought I really enjoyed it. I was like super excited when Jericho got the win too. I was like, this could go. I thought Eddie was gonna win.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't remember Eddie having the IC title.
It did remind me of how kind of weird Eddie was on the mic sometimes, though, or how like. Yeah. You knowing how everything ended, you can kind of see how he acts in interviews. You could see like he doesn't look at the camera a lot. When he does, it's always one eye, and it's like it just, maybe back then you think it's his character, but then you kind of find out exactly what he was going through, and you kind of look at it, you're like, oh God, the signs are kind of there, like just the way, I don't know, just the way the promos were in it. It's a little sad. And then you see Chris Benoit, and it's like, wow, and there were no signs here. Like, I would have never guessed how horrible of a human being you end up being.
Yeah. And then we get... No, go ahead, what?
I was going to say, it's just such a sad, like... it was such a sad, like, two people who, and they were actually like, technically teaming up in this too, because they were like the WCW outsiders. That was my chair.
They
by
were
the
the
way. I'm gonna
Radicals.
do it again.
Yeah,
The Radicals. Yeah,
they were the Radicals. Yeah.
Yep.
When they left WCW to go to WWE, I remember that being such a huge deal. They had Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko with them.
Yep.
The Perry Saturn was so good. Like,
Yep.
he was so good. I loved him.
He fell
And
out
then we get
very quickly.
We got one of the most awkward matches I've ever seen. Very weird build up to the match. And now that we're in today's culture, that we know a lot of stuff that happened, makes it even cringier, I guess, when it was Stephanie McMahon versus Trish Stratus. When he's like, it's my daughter, my prized possession. He's like, my prize. And then he's like, and then a really good friend.
Yeah,
a friend. And I'm like, Vince, oh no. Like, dude, it was so awkward. But good to see Stephanie always on my TV. Good to see Trish always on my TV. Like, I'm never going to turn down an opportunity to watch either of those. And
you see a lot of Trish in this match too.
Yes. Yes. And I'm not mad at it. I might have to watch it back just to make sure I caught it all. But yeah, Stephanie obviously wins. And then what got me going to? I laughed so hard when they were playing the video package, and then Vince was talking to William Regal, and he goes, "At some point in the match, you're gonna know exactly what to do." And William Regal's like, yeah. And then he walks out, he goes, "What the hell am I supposed to do with that?"
But the best part is he goes to the ring and he ends up doing his like British swinging neck breaker on both of them, and then just goes, "Okay, cool." And he leaves. And it's like
he had no idea what to do. It was so good, dude. That was the best part. For me, that was the funniest part. And then we get the match that it was the best match of the night. I forgot about this match. One of the Triple H versus Stone Cold in a 3 stages of hell match. Unbelievable. Like, the violence that was in this match, like the brutality of this match, and you know that they're good friends, like, and they just, man, did they put on like an in-ring psychology clinic. Like, Stone Cold gets the first one, then Triple H ekes the second one out. You know what I mean? And then you go into the third one, you're like, what's going on? How much do they have left? And then they just both of them empty the tank. You know what I mean? Like, they just emptied the tank on each other, and it was obviously Triple H goes over. And then Stone Cold gets the better of him at the end of it. Like,
that was the best part.
Dude, this was right before. Was this before they had their tag team, or it had to be, right? Because Triple H got hurt during their tag team run.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember the context leading up to this, but I know that Stone Cold was out for some time, and that's kind of what started this. You know, with the whole like he got run over, who hit him, and then when he came back, he dropped Triple H off the forklift, and Triple H was out for a little while because I think he was injured. So I think that's kind of I don't know where the injuries were from, but
I think eventually after this, it's the 2-man power trip, which is like some of my favorite work ever done in a wrestling ring, because they held all the titles, both of them.
Yeah,
they held all the titles. Like they had the Intercontinental Championship, the World Heavyweight Championship, and the Tag Team Championship, and they were in like every match, just dominating. But these two, man, they went to what a match! Like, if you're watching this and you haven't seen this match in a long time, go watch Triple H versus Stone Cold in the 3 stages of hell, because it. What'd you think about it, Joey? Because this was unbelievable. Like, I forgot all about this match.
I think I texted it to you. Like, watching the match, like, I realized, like, whenever they show video packages from, like, the Attitude Era, or they show anything that Triple H or Stone Cold have ever done, like, they take so much from this match in particular, because, for one, you know, looking at the video package leading up to it, like, they both did some of the best work ever. Like, Stone Cold couldn't touch Triple H, or he, I think, would get kicked out of the company. Triple H would have been suspended if he touched Stone Cold. So, like, when they went to sign the contract, Triple H pedigree Stone Cold, and Vince McMahon's like, "Oh, you're going to be suspended." And Triple H is like, "Actually, I didn't sign anything yet." And then he signs it, and Vince is like, "Ha, ha, ha, ha." And then Stone Cold stuns Stephanie McMahon. Triple H loses his mind. And then, like, Triple H pedigrees JR, and they're like, "Wow, Stone Cold and JR are such great friends." And it's like, that one you don't got me sold on completely, but that's fine. But the build-up was great. And the match was the one of the defining matches of, I think, the Attitude Era. Like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Stone Cold, The Rock. You have The Rock and Kurt Angle, and The Undertaker and Kurt Angle, and all these guys. There was a lot of defining matches, but this specific match was the best, the most overface that has ever been in this company. In my opinion, Stone Cold is the most overface that's ever been in the WWE. And you have one of the best, and I'm not going to say, I say one of, because this is arguable, but one of the best heels who's ever worked as a heel in this company. In a match where literally, I mean, they hit each other in air quotes with everything they could have possibly. I mean, there was barbed wire bats, sledgehammers, tables were broken. I think just had everything.
If you look at longevity and you look at money drawn and seats filled, I think Triple H goes down as the best heel the WWE ever had.
I wouldn't argue against that. I think a lot of people would, and rightfully so, but I personally would not argue with that at all. It was the perfect heel character.
Carried it. Yeah. He went from being like a little rich prick,
the rich blue blood,
to being this vile human being that everybody, Triple H, you son of a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, he did the ultimate heel move, and he did actually marry the boss's daughter, but like in kayfabe, like abducted the boss's daughter and like went through a drive-through marriage thing and like got her to like, you remember that story where like she married him not willingly, and then it was a whole ruse, and then they did mean to do it. It was a whole thing. Like that was the most.
That's what started that whole. That's what started their relationship.
Yeah. Yep.
If you ever watched them break it down, Vince was like, "I think you should date a guy like Paul." Like, you know what I mean? Like because he was always friends with Triple H. He's like, "You should date a guy like him." And then she's like, and then once I started dating him, he's like, "Not him, damn it, not him." But dude, Triple H, to me, one of the greatest of all time. He money-wise in longevity, I don't think there's ever been a heel like him.
I agree.
Like, not for that company, not for WWE. You're talking long-term heels, like you think about Ric Flair, but he did WCW and NWA and all this other stuff. As far as the WWE, Triple H is just kind of that guy for like 20 years. Like,
when you think of a heel in WWE, you think of Triple H.
Right, yeah. And it worked on so many levels. And it still works today. Like, Triple H is the only guy that could come out to, The Rock does it too. But like, and The Rock is a better heel than face, so maybe you consider him the greatest heel. I think those are 1A, 1B. Now, like, if you think about it, but Triple H had longer success. Like, he did it for much, much longer.
The difference between those two is The Rock can turn heel, and he'll never truly be a heel because most of the fans will always still love The Rock. The only time Triple H works as a face is when he's reviving the DX gimmick. That is the only time he is ever a true face with every fan unanimously behind him. Once he turns, everyone hates him again. He is just unanimously like, and it's the line's blurred now because he's obviously the chief content creator, whatever he is. But like he's still like that unanimous like heel. Like if he were to come out and be like, "Screw all you fans, I'm doing the Vince, I'm gonna run it like Vince McMahon," everyone would be like, "Wow, yep, there's Triple H. Screw this guy." Like it would instantly, he would get heat again. It's just he's the ultimate heel.
He's so good, dude. I have an autograph. I got myself a Triple H autograph, and I told myself, I literally remember coming up in the auction and the guy telling me that he was going to have a Triple H piece. And I was like, I don't know how much this is going to cost me, but I'm getting this piece. Like, because Triple H autographs do not come about. Mm-hmm. And I got it for a steal. I got it for like half the price it should have been, but it's because I jumped so high right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like, it was like opening bid $50. And then it was like, somebody was like, all right, I'll bid 75. And I was like, all right, 150. And then the guy was like, whoa. He's like, 200. And I was like, all right, 275. And then he stopped. And then I was like, here we go. Like, then he kept typing. He goes, I'm afraid you're going to jump this out. I'm like, yeah, that's, I had a limit in my mind, and I was willing to go to like $360 or $370. This is like a few years ago. Mm-hmm. his autographs are worth like $500-$600 because he doesn't sign.
Yeah.
Like Triple H doesn't do the signings that all these wrestlers do because he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't have to. So that makes his shit more valuable.
Yeah.
And it's like on an old photo too. It's like the old Hunter Hearst Helmsley ones. And I was like, I need this. As a Triple H fan, I need this in my life, dude. And I got it for a good price. I just remember being like, dude, this is gonna cost me a small fortune. And it cost me a pretty penny, but it was worth it. I got it. It'll be hanging up. You'll see it.
Mhm.
I think my wall will be done in like 2 weeks. I'll be finished completely. I just wanted to finish it up before I showcased it. You know what I mean? Because I had to find some of like the larger autographs, like the Dusty Rhodes autographs I had and the Ric Flair autographs I had, and Triple H, and I have some banger autographs that once it's up, I'll show you.
We'll have to do like we'll have to like put some time aside from an episode just so you can be like, because you got to show it off. Because I personally I love that stuff too. Like obviously now my background's different because I kind of relocated where I'm doing the show from. So I've been thinking about behind me, like changing some things up. But like I like the stuff that's behind me too. It just obviously doesn't necessarily work for the show. And like the corner over here that's been behind me for the last like month or two is perfect because I just happened to put all my wrestling stuff up there. But it's sometimes change is good. I do want to point out though, before we move on from this match, it also had, for one, because I haven't seen it in so long, great Triple H entrance, great historical Triple H entrance with the game, and he spits the water. But what I also think was one of the best entrance music changes of all time, Stone Cold going with Disturbed's entrance as opposed to just the generic music he used to have. I am a huge fan of actual bands doing entrance music. I loved Slow Chemical, Kane's entrance that was done by Finger 11. Obviously loved like Evolution by Motorhead. I love, obviously Aleister Black was Code Orange, and a lot of Bray Wyatt's entrance music was done by Code Orange.
The WWE did this to a lot of guys, but the Stone Cold one I think was like the best one that they did.
So there were a few. So this is now I'm gonna like super nerd out. They had an album called WWE Forcible Entry, and it had so Triple H actually had one by Drowning Pool, but I don't think they ever used it because obviously the Motorhead. He was a Motorhead guy, like he loved Motorhead, so he would have never changed. But Drowning Pool did a version that they might have used a couple times. That was when This Fire Burns by Killswitch Engage was what came out.
Yeah,
that ended up becoming CM Punk's first. I think like one of his first WWE entrances. Rob Van Dam. They did a version of his. I can't remember off the top of my head what the band was, but it was called Fury of the Storm. Actually, I think it was Shadows Fall. Now that I remember.
I'm looking it up. I just looked up the album, right?
Dude, it is one of the best albums you could ever listen to. There's so much good music on there.
They obviously had the Undertaker Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
They had the Stacy Keibler's one, Legs, done by Kid Rock.
Oh, you know what one I might be thinking of though is Reckless Intent. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Not Forcible Entry and Reckless Intent are two of the better ones because they had actual bands doing some of the entrance. But
this was all done by bands. Yeah, Cypress Hill was on it. Like, wow, dude, they had so. Yeah. I miss the WWE albums. Like, do you remember? Like, Aggression was one of them too.
Yep.
That was one that was like really good.
They were promoting on the whole No Way Out pay-per-view. They were promoting WWE The Music Volume 5 that had the Rock Pie song on there. Do you want some pie?
Dude, I just remember like, was it Volume 4? That was like the banger one. They had like every great. Yes, it was. Volume 4 was like they had Break the Walls Down. They had the Big Show, No Chance in Hell, Sexual Chocolate. This is a Test. They had the Mankind one. They had the Stone Cold regular theme song. They had D'Lo Brown's. They had the Brood. They had Ass Man, which classic.
I loved when that music hit when he won the Hardcore Championship. I was like, oh, I miss this music.
Dude, and then they had the Ministry one for the Undertaker. They had My Time, Triple H, which was a great theme song. They had the Edge one.
I think Stephanie came out to that one. I think that was her entrance music. Was the weird, like I say weird, but just because like of the I don't know what the guy's saying at the beginning. He's not saying anything. You know what I'm talking about though. But yeah, I think she came out to that. Yeah.
But I do miss those. Like in Volume 3 had the best theme song of all time, and I'll take this to my grave. The greatest WWF theme song ever was The Oddities by ICP. That thing was such a banger, dude. Everybody everybody danced to it. Everybody loved it. Like, I miss The Oddities. Those guys were so much fun. They were so bad, but they were so much fun to watch. It was, oh, dude. I do, man. I miss when you get nostalgic when you talk about stuff like that. They can't do stuff like that anymore because they don't sell albums. You know what I mean? Like everything's streamed, so it's not the same. Like it doesn't have that same feeling.
I thought the same thing because I was like, man, they don't put out WWE music anymore. And I was like, oh, that's right. If I went on Spotify, I could probably find anyone's music that I wanted to, but it's just not. It's just not the same.
It's not the same. It's because you had everything right in front of you, like the whole year. It's like, all right, this is the best theme songs they got. Like, oh, and then we get the next match, perfect match to kind of come down off of the Triple H Stone Cold one. It was Steven Richards versus Jerry Lawler. The Right to Censor, which was one of my favorite groups. I went to a Catholic school when I was younger, so we had to wear the suit and ties. You know what I mean? Like we had. So in the schoolyard, there was a few of us that would always pretend to be the Right to Censor because we already had the uniforms ready.
So I was thinking about this when I was watching this match. Now, obviously, growing up when I saw this faction, I hated them so much. The music was annoying. They were all annoying because obviously back then, like you wanted to see puppies and like it was really weird. Like that the tagline for this was like Cat wants to get naked, but the Right to Censor doesn't want her to, and it's like that's not right. That's bad. Like now I kind of agree with Right to Censor now. Like, wow, like maybe you guys shouldn't have said that kind of stuff. But like when I started thinking about Right to Censor, I was like, this faction was ahead of their time. Like they were actually like the premise of it. Like I wish that instead of Bull Buchanan, it was maybe Batista instead of him being like Devon's like collection box guy or whatever. Like maybe if only this was like later, you know what I mean? But like the Right to Censor was actually like a great heel faction, and they nailed it. And like and you could tell that WWE thought the same thing because they gave Victoria the WWE Women's Champion, or no, Ivory, not Victoria. Or
it was Ivory.
Yeah.
It was Ivory.
But like, I mean, they were a really good fan. Like this, to me, this match was kind of dumb. If being honest.
They did the Right to Censor did everything perfect. They censored Val Venus and made him a suit. You know what I mean? They made the Godfather a suit.
Like, yep.
And then they made those guys like credible threats in the ring because they were like. They were fueled
by they were fueled by like a change in philosophy on life. Like it was
right. And they had the perfect leader, and Steven Richards was perfect for that role.
Yeah.
It was a good faction, and proof that you don't need to be a main event faction to be a successful one.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody remembers the Right to Censor from that time period, and they were kind of fun to watch. You know what I mean? Like they did a good job, I thought.
Yeah. They were good.
And then at the end of the match, when Steven Richards wins, they all come over with like a coat of Overcat and like hold her and like try to keep her. It was so well done. And then we go to probably your favorite match of the night. We have the Dudleys versus the Brothers of Destruction, and then Edge and Christian.
So it actually wasn't my favorite match.
Ooh.
I think this match was done very poorly. And so some things I noticed. For starters, at this point, the fact that Kane and The Undertaker were not booked as an unstoppable force of nature, I think is criminal to a degree. The fact that they were relegated to like kind of knocked out on the side of the ring early, and they got in and got their offense and choke slammed the hell out of everybody. But then the fact
those
that
chair shots were vicious that they took though.
The fact that Rikishi and Haku come out, and again, I needed context because I didn't freaking understand it. They feud, and it's like you can see it. They're feuding up the ramp, and I'm like, they're walking away from the ring. I was like, well, they're out of this match. Like they're done. Like that's stupid. And then like the Dudleys did their thing, which was great. And Christian went through a table because it was never Edge, because Edge was always protected. But what I hated, or loved to a degree, because it was just so bad it was good, or so bad that it was funny. But as soon as the Dudley Boys music hit, the Kane and the Undertaker and Haku and Rikishi like instantly just stopped fighting. and they pan to Kane and the Undertaker, and you could just see Rikishi and Haku just walk out, like walk into the curtains to the back, which like validated that literally their cue was the Dudley's music hits, and they were like, all right, we're done. We don't need to do like our interference part's over. We're leaving. And they literally just they just walked away, and the Kane and the Undertaker just turned around and looked at the ring and were like so mad. And like Kane literally did one of these. It was like a generic, like he just like drops, like shook his fists, and like you could see him like growl under his mask, and it was just so pathetic. Like it's a beautiful highlight of how like I understand. And again, this was 23 years ago, so I was like 10, so or whatever. I would have not known the difference. But seeing it now, it's like I know it's fake, and please don't make it so goddamn obvious, because this is the stuff that makes it hard for me to defend. Like when these two giants are fighting two other giants, and instead of like, oh, the match is over, like, well, you guys just cost us the match, we're gonna beat the crap out of you, like they all just stop fighting, and the two guys who interfered just walk away like nothing happened, and you could actually see it on camera because they weren't so great with their camera angles. It's like, I don't like this. So that's my take on the match.
Edge and Christian were pretty much punching bags during this whole match.
Yeah.
They didn't have like a successful offensive streak going.
Nope.
Christian Dudleys came out.
That was about it.
Yeah, the Dudleys came out, knocked Kane and Undertaker with chairs, and you didn't see them, like you said, for a while. And then the Dudleys obviously go over in this match, but it was very weirdly done. And Haku and Rikishi coming out, I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Yep.
And that is what happens when you watch these things out of context, though.
Yeah.
You don't know the storyline.
Like, I need more information here because I'm super confused now.
Just like The Rock and Kurt Angle, when we went into that match, weird match. I did not like the Big Show coming in and just choke slamming both of them and leaving.
Yep. And how like Taz was like, oh, like, is that not a disqualification? Like, is the match over? And then like the refs come out to help the ref who was choke slammed, and then like Kurt Angle goes for the cover.
Kurt Angle gets a pin for 2 minutes.
Earl Hebner just drops the ref that they're carrying out to run back in, and then he looks and he's like, sorry guys, like, had to do my job. Like, yeah, well,
right.
Wouldn't you have just called the match a DQ because you saw somebody interfere? Like, it made no sense. Did you happen to catch, do you think the ending was botched?
They definitely messed something up.
Because the Rock hits a rock bottom after all the offense, everything goes down, and Hebner gets a 2 count. And Kurt Angle doesn't move at all, but Hebner stops counting after 2. Like,
and he's like, shoulder. I'm like,
at 2 and he stops counting, and like Kurt Angle did not look like he moved. And The Rock and JR even said it on commentary, like, oh, The Rock doesn't look happy, because The Rock's like staring at Hebner, like he looks visually mad, and he just picks up Kurt Angle and just hits him with another rock bottom, and it's like, that's weird, because why would you do a close a 2 and a count only for The Rock just pick him up and do the same thing and then get a 3 count, unless like you botched the count and you just had to kind of redo the finish. So I think they botched the finish of that match. It was a really weird match.
And so that leads to The Rock and Stone Cold at WrestleMania. Yep. And that's I think so. That's Stone Cold's last match. So like that power trip thing that I was saying happened, I think, in '99. So that was whatever. But yeah, it was The Rock versus Stone Cold. I'm pretty sure that was Stone Cold's last match. That was the one he didn't tell anybody was going to be his last match.
I'm not 100% on that, because I thought Stone Cold went over in that match, but I could be wrong. Because I was watching, because I got confused initially.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Was this his Vince McMahon one?
I think I got confused initially when I thought for some reason it was No Mercy 2001. So I started watching that and like looking it up, and I was like, this isn't what Bams had said on Sunday. So something's weird. And then I slowly realized it was No Way Out. But Stone Cold, I think, is in No Mercy 2001, which is later on in the year, because this was right before WrestleMania. Stone Cold, I think, is either champion, or he faces Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. So I don't think this was his last match, or this was like WrestleMania this year. No, it's not, because in WrestleMania 19 he faced The Rock again, which is 2 years later.
Was this? Yeah. So this was 18.
This was set up for 17, or how they put it, X7, because we don't know Roman
That's
numerals.
right. What a weird time. Yeah, X7. Yeah, dude, it was like a strange ending to the matches. I don't know.
I didn't.
And then
mean,
if you
the
have
match
Stone
was
Cold,
good.
so
But
if Stone Cold's gonna go for the title at WrestleMania, how does he lose right before WrestleMania?
That's one of those things where like you can kind of see it though, because one, Triple H was also a huge star, and two, like it was a 3 stages of hell match. Like it took like everything Triple H could throw at him to win that. So you know what I mean? Like he uses a sledgehammer, the barbed wire bat. Like I didn't mind that as much. What I think bothered me was they clearly didn't think Kurt Angle could carry the company into WrestleMania. So since Stone Cold was the King of the Ring, not King of the Ring, Royal Rumble winner, which surprise, surprise, who did he beat to win the Royal Rumble? Kane, greatest Royal Rumble participant ever who never won. They clearly did not think Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold would draw, and were like, we're putting the title on The Rock so it can be Rock and Stone Cold at WrestleMania.
Which you can't hate that result.
No, but still though, like 2 months into it, it's a little bit of a weird decision. Like I think at that point, like maybe you should just see what Kurt Angle can do, but it's Vince McMahon's WWE.
It was a panic. It was definitely a panic decision, I think, by them.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Where they were like, no, we need The Rock to have the title.
Yep.
Like this is overall. What do you think about the pay-per-view?
I mean, it's hailed as one of the best pay-per-views of that era. I think it was the last pay-per-view of the Monday Night Wars as well. So it is. It rightfully was. It was a stat card. It was one of the best pay-per-views that WWE put out in that time.
What do you give it? 1 to 10?
8.4.
I like it.
It'd be an 8.9 if The Undertaker and Kane looked like The Undertaker and Kane. That was the only thing holding it back.
I'm gonna give it a 7.8, so it's just above average because of that 3 stages of hell match. But there was I think there was too much interference. I think it was just
across the board. Every match had some interference and some because what it was is they had so much big name talent on the card, and they had to protect the big name talent that wasn't because it in the scope of like we know the careers of these wrestlers. When you have Kane and the Undertaker, I keep wanting to say the Kane. When you have Kane and the Undertaker, and you have the Dudley Boys, and which I thought was funny when the announcer announced the names, it was Christian and Edge, not Edge and Christian. I was like, "Ooh, Edge probably hated that." When you have a triple threat tag match like that, like in no world should either Edge and Christian or the Dudley Boys go over Kane and the Undertaker, because they're just not on the same level. Like they're nowhere near the same level. I don't care if you want to argue that Kane was overall like a perennial mid-carder. He was a 7-foot giant who weighs 300 and a bajillion pounds and made fire explode from the ring post with his mind and his arms, because that's real. I believe it. It just doesn't. You can't, like, if they're gonna lose, you're telling me that Rikishi and Haku like punch their faces up the ring, and get them away. Like, it just didn't do it for me. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just weird. The interference didn't feel real.
So between the ending of that match, then Big Show coming out for the Kurt Angle, the Rock one, and then you have the Just Incredible one doing the
right to censor. Bill Buchanan came out. Like, it just
it was like one after another, and it's like you kind of killed it. Like you could have
William Regal for Steph Trish. Like it was just almost every match had interference.
Yeah, and to me, that's what killed the momentum of it. But it was still a good paper. Like it was still overall good.
The 2 best matches didn't have interference. The Fatal 4-Way and the 3 Stages of Hell.
No, the 4-Way did have it. Just Incredible.
No, oh, you're right. Yep, I was thinking the hardcore match, which also had interference because the 24/7 rules. So I don't know if that's necessarily interference.
No, I don't count that as interference because that was just the rules of the match.
Yeah,
like it was just you could do it. So like what I mean, it was strange how it all turned out, and then it ended up being Raven and the Big Show after all that interference anyway, which was kind of cool. But every other match besides the 3 Stages of Hell, I think, had some kind of interference.
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, and the 3 Stages of Hell match was obviously the best match on that card.
Yeah.
That was one of the better matches I think I might have ever seen. Like
Took
that
the
was
words right out of my mouth.
That was so good. Like I want to know what Meltzer gave it. Probably 2 stars. Fucking bum.
Yeah, let's not bring up Meltzer. That guy's a shill.
He's a bum.
Yep, agreed.
Bum. I just he's one of those dudes I just can't get behind. I don't understand why everybody loves him. Gives out 5 stars for matches that don't. Just gross.
He gets a lot of hate. He's been getting a lot of hate. So you'll get, not that you're getting your wish, but like he's not as universally loved as he was maybe 5 years ago.
Very fair. Yeah, because everybody's seeing how biased he is, and like it's like, dude, that's not, you call a spade on this one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You can't just say AEW's got all these 5-star matches when they're not 5-star matches. I watched them. Like,
or not even that, but like I can understand you want to give all these 5-star ratings to AEW because you just have some of the better technical wrestlers, but like you can't just be like, well, I didn't like this match at WWE and I don't like these characters. And no, because if the match is good and the storyline is good and everything flows and works, like that should tie into your rating too. Like,
right.
That's different. That's another show. Like, take down the sports media of the sports world.
I got the NASCAR race on right now. I'm like keeping up with it too. I'm such a NASCAR nerd. I love it, dude.
It's the show we can do.
You like NASCAR?
I was a big Mark Martin fan growing up, and then I got out of it for a while. I got back into it. So my biggest thing with NASCAR was that it's not a team sport. So when Mark Martin retired, I didn't know who to follow because I didn't like anybody else because I liked Mark Martin. So I didn't really watch it for a while. And I got back into it, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And so now I find this poetic for me because I was a Mark Martin fan and he was always second. He was always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. Just never could win a championship. I was like, you know what? I like Martin Truex. I like that he's racing for a very small team. His name's Martin, so he's got that going for it. A little bit of a connection. So that season, I started watching Truex and rooting for him. Kevin Harvick won, but Martin Truex was a friggin' steamroller. And then the next year, he won the NASCAR championship, and I was like, finally.
I am a big Kyle Busch fan and have been.
Okay, all right. I can't hate that. I like. If it's a Busch, I would prefer it to be Kyle than Kurt Busch. So that works.
Kurt wasn't. It's just Kyle was always like cocky and just the way he drives. I love him.
Great driver.
He struggled this year because he switched teams and stuff. But I'm a big fan of him and Ross Chastain. If I had to pick a newer driver, I love Ross Chastain.
He will forever live in infamy for doing the one thing everybody wishes they could have ever done that we all do in the NASCAR actual games. And he just went full send. The greatest.
Have you heard him?
Sports.
Have you heard him break that down?
Yeah, I have.
He's like, I was missing the playoffs. I had to get up a bunch of spots. He goes, and I told my team, I said, I'm gonna pick a spot on that wall and I'm gonna ride it. He just gunned it and then just took his whole side out. And he made it to the playoffs.
Yeah. And I think he went deep that year too, didn't he? I think he was in like the final 3. Like,
he made it to the final race.
Yeah,
dude. He's a good driver. He's like, there's been a couple races this year where he's like really like come out of like the pit slow or like did something stupid and like cost himself the race. Same with Kyle. Kyle's done it, I think, twice where I thought he was going to win the race and then he just had like some kind of a bluff or his pit team screwed him up. Or he's so fun to watch in the post race press conferences though. Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
he's just like. There was one, he goes, yeah, I raced the hell out of that car. He's like, that was all talent because my team sucked today.
Who did Chastain just knock the fuck out of recently? Wasn't that him that got into the big brawl last week after
that
the match?
Kyle.
It wasn't it? Yeah, but wasn't it Ross that knocked the fuck out of Kyle? I thought it was both of them.
No, it was oh my god, what was his name?
Or was it Danica Patrick's ex fling? That guy, I forget. It was one of the two. That's gonna bother me now. But I know one of those two that we're talking about that you're a fan of were involved in that, and it was
Kyle. It was Kyle.
As much as they say, like I get it staged, but like they were like that was a legitimate brawl.
Yeah, that was a brawl, dude. So in that race, if you watch it, Kyle gets bumped off the line, and then he just returns fire that next lap, and that's when the guy, I think it was True, it might have been, was it Truex or Reddick? Oh no, it was Stenhouse.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse. Yeah, Danica Patrick's old boy twice.
Yeah, it was Ricky Stenhouse, and he got mad, and I'm like, I know I'm biased because I'm a Kyle Busch guy, but I'm like, dude, this dude you just tried to wreck Kyle 2 laps ago. You don't get to play victim after you bump somebody. If you're going to trade paint, you're going to trade paint. You know what I mean? And if you're going to trade paint, I don't think I'm picking Kyle Busch to trade paint with.
He's a ridiculous son of a bitch.
Dude, he will crash both of you to make sure that you don't get up on him, dude. That's just how he is. I love him, dude. He's so funny. Oh, when he what was it? He blew by Kevin Harvick. Harvick was pissed or something like that because he traded paint with him one race, and he was like, "Yeah, Kevin Harvick." He goes, "Who? I don't." and like Harvick, he goes, "Yeah, I don't." Oh, it was Keselowski. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about." And they're like, "Yeah, number 12 car." He goes, "Oh yeah, I saw that car. I passed it." And I was like, "Oh, dude, he's such a dick." And his kid, I follow him on Instagram and stuff. So like, his kid is like a prodigy, dude. Like
of course,
he's like 8 years old and like racing with kids older than him, and he's just so filthy. But your dad's Kyle Busch, so like obviously you're gonna be good. You know what I mean? I love racing. I just always have. I love racing. It's so much fun to watch. It's such a basic sport, but I just love it so much. It's not the same. I don't think it's the same as when it was in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Well, for me, I lost interest when like Jimmy Johnson was like I fully recognize he's one of the greatest NASCAR racers of all time. I get it. But there was so little competition for him because I think he won 7 straight, wasn't it? Like something ridiculous. Like,
yeah. And it was at the tail end of Junior and Jeff.
Gordon and
like Mark, there was nobody stepping up.
And Tony got one in between there. Well, he got a second because the first one he won.
Kyle got 2. I think Kyle got 2 in that championship.
Busch has 3. Kyle's got 3 right now, right? Kyle's got 3. Kurt's got 1, if I remember correctly. I think Kurt won one a couple years ago.
I think Kurt won a couple years ago. Yeah, I think
Kyle's Kurt's got 1 and Kyle's got 3, if I'm not mistaken, right? Something like that.
He's either got 2 or 3. Yeah,
I think it's 3. I might be giving him too much credit, but I'm pretty sure. But he's one of the other best racers of like this kind of decade, this era. Like he's so good.
If you put together all of Kyle Busch's wins on all the different circuits, he's arguably one of the best drivers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go trucks and the Xfinity and then the NASCAR like Cup race, like
he does dirt too, right? Or wheeling or something like that.
Yeah. He doesn't do it as much anymore, but he still does it. He's just one of those dudes that just loves to race.
Yeah,
like he just loves racing. So when he gets in a truck, I love watching him because he's gonna have a great race.
Yeah,
like he's fun to watch in trucks. Him and Chastain won a couple weeks ago in the trucks too, which was good to see because he hasn't won dick in the NASCAR series this year. It was good to see him get a win. I was like, yeah. But yeah, I could talk NASCAR forever.
It's a different show.
Different show.
We'll have to do a mostly sports show, but we can't call it mostly sports.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be like everything sports.
Other sports with an asterisk.
I like that. Outside of the major sports, I like
that.
But anyway, do you have anything else you want to add for this week?
No.
I think we covered.
Nope, my voice is going hoarse, which is usually about the time when I know I need to shut up.
You and me both. And then if you guys want to join us on Tuesday, Buddy and I forget exactly who we have as a guest, but it should be a good one. Oh, wait. Is it the USS Salem guy? No, I don't think so.
No, you guys are going to Varnum, I think, if I remember correctly. Or you're doing something with Varnum and Patrick.
Yes, we are. You're right. We are. That's absolutely, you're right. Buddy's excited. He's always very excitable.
Well, I totally agree with Varnum. Is just to plug it, Varnum is probably one of the most it's one of the best museums you can go to, especially if you like anything to do with military history, especially Rhode Island military history. Patrick is so knowledgeable. There's such a great collection. And Tim Jackson, who's unfortunately no longer with us, was also a really big part of the Farnham Armory, and was also a wealth of knowledge. And maybe he'll talk to you. He wasn't right. He predicted we were gonna have a boy. We're having a girl. But it's a great place. There's a lot of great history. There's a lot of great artifacts. There's a lot of great weapons. I mean, there's some amazing weapons that you'll get to see there. But it's a great place. It's going to be a great show. It's probably one of the better little visits you could make in Rhode Island. It's in East Greenwich.
That's what Buddy was saying. Buddy was like, all the stuff that they have is just remarkable. So it'll be a good show. It'll be fun to do.
If you like history even a little, some of the things that they have there will blow your mind.
I'm excited for it. That'll be good. But for that being said, I am the BAMs. This is Joey Wrestling. And thank you for your time. Join us next week. We'll be here Friday at 7. Enjoy Buddy and I on Tuesday at 8 o'clock.